All right, what is going on? So I'm just out this morning taking my dog for a little walk. It's about 7 o'clock, but this video is not about me taking my dog for a walk in the morning. Yesterday I had the privilege of talking to Aidan. He is a guy that I've known for a long time, and to summarize him with a couple words is a little difficult. He's a bodybuilder, he's an aspiring firefighter, so he's an all-around great guy. I've known him for years. We kind of met when we were both doing junior bodybuilding. We didn't compete in the same competitions, but we were always kind of supportive of one another, training with each other, and he was always giving me tips because he actually started before me. So he's always been like an inspiring person to me. And that's aside from the fact that I've seen him recover from some medical issues, but also some of the mental health issues that surround having some medical issues in the first place. So we're gonna just jump into it. In this little conversation, we talk mainly about, fitness, a little bit about music, some mental health stuff, but also just about, kind of rebounding and setting new goals, always having a plan for yourself, not letting yourself slip into, a depressed state by just doing the same routine over and over and over again, or forgetting about certain aspects of your life. All right. We're recording, man.
Nice.
Nice, dude. All right, so Aidan, tell us a little bit about yourself. I guess before I talk about you, let's hear your little introduction. Tell me about yourself, man.
Hey, well, I haven't prepared anything here, but here goes. My name's Aidan, and I've known Mark now for, 7 years, something like that. Both met in college, similar interests, and we met through bodybuilding. That's something that both of us kind of have in our past, and still continue to keep some of those principles today. What am I doing? I'm trained to become a firefighter at the moment, and that's kind of where my life direction is. I'm a musician and an athlete, I guess, and that's kind of all there is about me.
Nice, man. When, because I've known you, like you said, for like 6-7 years now, probably, and becoming a firefighter was something I just kind of heard about, like in the last year or two. How long have you known you wanted to be a firefighter?
Actually, it's kind of been something in my head for a long time now. It was always kind of like my plan B in a sense from a very young age, but in high school, when I got into lifting and stuff, kind of the idea I wanted to go for the direction was personal training. But as I went through college, like where you and I met up and stuff for the first time, I kind of got off the idea just because I realized I was more so into lifting for the progress that I was making, not so much trying to focus on other people's. I feel like to be a really good trainer, you have to be able to, you must be able to put other people's training before you. And at the time when I was bodybuilding, that was kind of the priority was on myself. So somewhere in there, I switched over and I just thought, you know what, let's do this. This is, something I've always wanted to do since a little kid. And I thought that this was kind of the direction I want to take my life.
Nice, man. And what's the process of becoming a firefighter like? What have you gone through so far? What do you have to do left?
So it's a very long process. It takes, for some people, it takes years and years. Usually a good hiring time for departments is your late 20s. So you and I, we both, at our age, I've got some time. But so far I've done the majority of all my training. Right now it's just a sense of rehabbing my current injury, getting back to full strength, and then being able to apply from there and go from there. But the thing about firefighting is it's a good metaphor for life. You're going to get rejected over and over and over, but you got to keep through it. You got to persevere, and eventually you finally get yourself in there.
Nice, man. And so the injury you're going through right now, was that bodybuilding related?
So the injury I have now was a freak accident, a skiing accident actually. So I went skiing for the first time in a few years, and I was feeling good. Like I was confident, and I hit a patch of ice, kind of went flying, landed really hard on the shoulder, and completely separated it. So I had a grade 4 separation, which is like the highest degree of separation. Essentially, my collarbone was out here, and I had to have pretty much immediate surgery. I had surgery within the week, and right now I'm still waiting on my second surgery before I can fully start the rehab and like physio process to get back to normal.
Crazy, man. So you haven't lifted weights ever since, obviously.
Nope.
Nada. How long has it been?
Shit. It's been about, I think my injury was February 22nd. So it's been about 5 weeks now. Essentially 5 weeks. It's been a month since I've had surgery. And I'm still looking at another 2 months before my next, and then another 2 months of recovery after that as well.
Dang, dude. So that's like another 4 months after this, no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's nice is, I guess, I've got time on my side, and potentially if I play my cards right and do everything properly, I can get the ball in motion a little faster, but that's looking like my recovery time at this point.
So how's it been not lifting weights for 5 weeks? Because when was the last time you didn't lift weights for 5 weeks straight?
I have not been 5 weeks without weights since, I would say, maybe a decade now at this point. So it's been really, really tough. You kind of have to switch your mindset completely when something like this happens and you're dealt these cards. So I'm trying not to I'm trying to occupy my time with other things. One thing that I always preach is like balance in life. So I've always been like, even when I was at the heat of bodybuilding and stuff, I always did other stuff too. So you have to be able to prepare for things like this to happen, where if something you love to do is taken away from you, you got to be able to have something else in your life to keep you going. That's when the depression really hits, things like that, when something that you do every day is taken from you and you don't have something in its place to focus on.
Have you had this happen in the past? Because it sounds like you recovered pretty like quickly mentally.
Yeah, like, I mean, I've been kind of in and out of hospitals now for a long time, through a slew of different surgeries and things like that. So for me, it's, I guess I'm a little more accustomed to it at this point, but I feel like also you can never get fully, like fully used to something like this. But like I said, it's just important to prepare for all things in life, like the 4 P's, or maybe it's 5 P's. It's prior preparation prevents poor performance, and I kind of try to live by that in anything in life, and that goes with mental health too. Is having those separate channels, not just putting all your eggs into one basket, kind of thing.
Nice, man. That's sick. That's honestly sick, man. And how do you kind of know like where to pivot to? Like, I guess for yourself, like when something gets taken away from you, how do you know like what to pick next?
I mean, it depends on the current situation. Like for me right now, it's been a little easier because of the whole situation going on in the world right now. It's actually making things a lot easier in terms of like being okay with staying home and not working and things like that. But for me, like, it's more so like a sense of being able to switch focus at any given time. Like for me personally, I like to have, like I said, a lot of different things going on in your life that if something like this happens, you can switch your focus. And for me, I tend to, like when I switch focus with something, I don't turn my back completely to other things as well. Like the entire duration of my bodybuilding, for example, I was still making time for friends. I was still playing my music. I was still doing things like that, where if you only focus on one thing and you don't channel energy into the other things, they will go away. And at that point, when it's all taken from you, you're left with nothing. So
just kind of keep it consistent with like multiple areas of your life.
Absolutely. It's all about that balance, man.
And with this whole like social isolation, social distancing, quarantine, COVID-19 craze, are you still jamming? Are you still playing music?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been able to play my bass now for about a couple weeks. I just was able to start playing guitar again this week, just because my range of motion is so poor. Like, I've just finally been able to get it over top of the guitar to be able to play.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, music for me is always on in some form or another, whether it's just, my Bluetooth player singing along. I've got a little drum, a cajon, acoustic drum that I can bang on, which I've been able to do even since after surgery, because I only have to move my wrist to do that, which I've got full mobility of. So always music, man, in my place. Like, I find that when you live alone too, like, music is your best friend, because it can get pretty lonely, right? And I feel like when you get lonely and everything's so quiet, you get in your own head, which can be good sometimes too if you need to do some self-reflection. But for me, it keeps me going through the day, especially in the quarantine times.
Yeah, man. What are you listening to the most nowadays?
Oh man, that's a loaded question for me, because I listen to a lot of different stuff. But I actually recently, believe it or not, just got on Spotify, so I've been loving it because I'm a little late to the party there, but the playlist and stuff, I've been discovering new music a lot.
Party's still going. Don't worry, dude.
Yeah.
The party's still going.
That's right.
You've been listening to a lot of music on Spotify now? Just because you started releasing music on Spotify? Is that why?
No, actually, I finally just got myself an account, but yeah, I mean, that's another reason there too. But it's just a great way to discover new music. And for me, like, that's everything in this time right now, because it's nice to have something at least in your life that's new and fresh when you're not working and you're twiddling your thumbs at home half the time.
Yeah, because you and your band can't like practice or rehearse at all, can you?
No. So none of that's going on right now. Yeah, just trying to keep playing on your own, just to make sure you're not too rusty, and then that's kind of where we've been at right now.
Nice, man. How did you guys start your band? I've actually always meant to ask you
that. So I'm in a couple bands, actually. The one, Bendwarmer, we just released that EP on Spotify. The other two members of the band, two of my buddies, Ben, he's been one of my best buddies forever now. And we've actually always been playing a little bit of music together, but we were never at a serious point. And then another guy that we know from high school is a friend of ours, Rowan. He's a drummer, and we thought at the time, like, we need a drummer. Drummers are hard to find, so we ended up getting back in touch with him, and we started jamming, I want to say, like 4 or 5 years ago now. And then we got to a point where we felt like we were ready to play shows and to come up with some music of our own, and that's where we went from there.
How does the writing process go for you guys?
So majority actually of the writing Ben does. So he's a very good lyric writer. He's one of those kind of minds that he's always writing and stuff, new music and everything like that. And then I usually chime in with concepts for songs, and I help with the lyrics as well. And then the actual instrumentation is just a collaboration of all of us. Like, usually, one of us will pitch the idea, we got the ball in motion, and then we'll get together and jam, and the three of us just have a lot of chemistry where we can come up with a song in 40 minutes, sitting there playing away. So
wow, man, that's quick.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good when you find people that you can actually gel with like that, for sure.
And then the other bands that you play in are just like kind of, you just like jam around, or do you guys play shows as well?
Yeah, so another band I'm in, Opposite Shore. We're on a hiatus at the time being, even before the quarantine. But yeah, we played shows. We actually have an EP on Spotify as well, and it's more or less the same. The writing process. You got your one guy, so Garrett in Opposite Shore, one of my close buddies. He does the majority of the writing, but then there's that collaborative factor as well.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
So what do you plan, like when you're done with quarantining and you're back into the world, like what's going to be like your main focus? You going to go like mostly into music, or you going to go like all your eggs into the basket of firefighting, or like what's kind of like your plan going back to real life?
So a couple plans, I guess, in motion. I guess first and foremost at this point is nursing my injury back to full health. That had just the reality of it had to become my main priority at this point. So I can say that for sure. But there's another few things I want to take, like avenues that I want to go down. One thing I want to do is travel a little more. Once I feel that I have the funds to do so, especially after all this, I'm kind of getting that bug a lot, that itch. At this point in my life, like I feel like I haven't done as much traveling as I'd like to. And before I want to settle down and think about things like that, I definitely want to get that travel bug out of my system. But like you and I have been talking about, really getting back and focusing into skateboarding. This injury has kind of pushed things into a different path for me. And then so it's going to be a transition of like going from the heavy lifting to focusing on a different athletic feat. And skateboarding has been something I've done forever, but never really put the time and effort into exceeding at, and that's what I really want to do at this point. And I'm excited to get that going with you, and yeah, see where we can take it.
Yeah, dude, I like that. I like that you're always like kind of gunning for something in the future. But like, have you ever not had a plan?
No, I think I'm a kind of a weird hybrid, because I like to go with the flow a lot, and let things go where they may. But at the same time, I think I've always had a future plan. I always think ahead, which is great to an extent. But of course, you want to live in the moment as well. That's a very important thing. But I think having a plan, at least something to strive towards, keeps you motivated, keeps your mental health in check a lot of the time.
Nice, man. Dang.
Yeah.
That's a lot to talk about, man. That's a lot. What are you doing right now during the day? Like, what do you do on a day in the life?
I've been trying to try some new things. I haven't put as much time into reading as I probably should in my life, and I have been trying to read some more. So reading is one. Discovering new music has been a big thing as well. Something I'm really interested in at the time being. I've actually been doing a puzzle, which is like super random for me. I know a lot of people are doing it right now, but it's nice. You put some music on in the background and you kind of tune out and you try to figure this puzzle out. For me, it's one of the most difficult things I've ever done, and it's funny to say, but I'm sitting there struggling big time. But it gives you something to focus towards, especially at this time where there's no work and there's no brain stimulus going on really, other than scrolling on your phone all day. So it's giving you something to kind of try to work on and get very frustrated at, and then try harder.
What happens when you finish the puzzle, man?
See, I haven't thought that far ahead yet. I think I need a plan in place for that.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I don't even have a puzzle going. I've just been reading, dude.
What are you reading at the moment?
I just finished the book, The Compound Effect. And the first, it's by Darren Hardy. That one's like A+, man. I recommend it. I literally just made a video I'm dropping tomorrow, so on Monday, about books to read that helped out like my mental health.
Yeah.
And that is like one of the top recommendations, I'm going to say, in terms of like self-development, or like any improvement you're looking for in like mental health. That would be like a book that I would recommend, whether it's like finance or anxiety or depression, just like in terms of learning what your habits are, why you do the things you do. It's like A1, man. I would recommend it for sure. And
Yeah, no, I'm a huge believer in like growth books, self-development and stuff like that. There's one that really kind of helped me through a time in my life. It's called Mindset. I believe it's by Carol Dweck or Sweck or something like that. Sorry, I'm not doing the author any justice there, but amazing book. She talks about like the growth mindset, which is something that really stood out for me at the time, and I've carried with me to this day since reading that book. I highly recommend that book. It's something that you can put towards business, relationships, even really anything in life, any avenue. And for me at a time I really needed to hear something like that. It's stuck with me since. So highly recommend that book.
when did you read it?
I read that book, I believe when I was 18 or 19, and I at the time was going through a lot of like a major health scare in my life, and was really getting into bodybuilding at that time as well. I think I was close to, I think it was during my preparation for my first ever bodybuilding show when I read it. But that, I think I grew leaps and bounds from that 18 to 19 age range, where a lot of people take more time at that point in their life. But it was because of this book and the switch of mindsets. Because for me, I was like any other teenager in high school, where I didn't think about things like this. I wasn't always trying to grow as a person. I mean, in high school, your focus is fitting in and these things. You don't think about what's down the road. But that's it was that at that point in my life where I needed to hear that the most.
Yeah, man. It's such a crazy stage, that one gap in your life, like right after high school going into college. That is such a crazy stage of development.
Oh, absolutely. I think such a weird state, man. Even at our age now, I feel like in your early to mid 20s, every year feels like 4 years of growth. Just like I think about myself 2 years ago, and I'm a completely different person, So it's really interesting. Like I don't know when that stops, but I think at the time, yeah, like I'm really starting to notice that in retrospect, thinking back on the years of my life, for sure.
Yeah, I think, man, time moves so fast. You're right. Like it definitely, like each year definitely feels like 4 years of growth, in the sense that like I look back and I'm like, wow, my brain was completely different. I thought so differently. I acted so differently. But then years also fly by, man. Like every single year, I'm like, wait, what do you mean I'm turning 25? Like that feels so weird. Like I
know.
like 18 still.
I know. No, I 100%, man. I feel the same way. Like it's so weird that I think it's that age that we're in, it's like that at one hand, you feel like you're still 18. But the other hand, we're seasoned adults basically at this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, we're five, we're both almost the 25. Like we're five years away from 30. I mean, think about that for a second.
Yeah. Dude, it hit me this morning. I was watching this video. It came up on Facebook, and it was like 2 DDay veterans talking. And this one guy, dude, he was literally storming the gates of Normandy at 18 years old. Like that's 7 years younger than us.
Oh, no. Well,
7 years younger than us, man.
Put that in perspective. I mean, look at a lot of great musicians over the years. I mean, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, like these guys were 27 when they passed away. Like think about, I mean, Biggie Smalls was 23 or 24. I mean, think about how much they achieved in their lifetime, being our age or even younger. You know, it's really bizarre when you think about that.
What do you think, like, because I read a book about like something like this topic, and what do you think like sets someone apart that like creates such a big ripple effect where you're like say Biggie Smalls, not him specifically, but like where he's 23 years old and people still like decades after are still talking about him, still thinking about him? Like, what do you think like creates that ripple effect?
I really just think like it's in their mindset when like it's crazy what you can achieve really when you put the time and effort into it and you have that mindset like all of them did. And it's pretty amazing like what somebody can achieve in their lifetime when they really use what was given to them and apply themselves. I mean, I think we're all capable of it, but in terms of people like Biggie, like icons essentially, in whatever avenue that they're in, I truly believe that some people are put on this world to make an impact and not necessarily remain in the world. You know what I mean? Like kind of to hit the world with a big bang and then burn out. And if I mean, I think a lot of people too that are in that point or in that platform would say like the same about that. I mean, I think there was a study done on Olympic athletes. If they took this pill that would kill them in 5 years, but they could win a gold medal, they would do it. You know what I mean? I think it was like something 70 or 80% of them said that they would do it. To win that gold medal, they would die in the next 5 years kind of thing. It was something like that, but it kind of puts you in that perspective of the mindset of people who achieve really, really great things.
Would you do that, man? Would you take a pill that would make you successful at whatever you wanted?
Me personally, no. I love life too much to say goodbye to it for something material like that. I think if I can stay on this earth for as long as possible, I will do so. I just value life too much at that point. Actually, there's a really, really, really good YouTube video that I watched about a year ago now that really put my life into perspective. You can search it up. I can't remember the title, but if you searched up like Jellybean's life, something like that, it should come up. But essentially, it's this guy who takes the lifespan of a person and he lays it out with jelly beans.
Yeah.
So the days of your life on an average lifespan, and he lays it out in jelly beans. Then he goes into categories like, this is how much time you're going to take working. This is sleeping. This is with friends. And he takes all those jelly beans away. And really, you're only left with, I think you start with something like 100,000. You're only left with like 8,000 jelly beans. And what he says that had a big impact on my life is he says, what are you going to spend this time doing? So like, how are you going to spend these jelly beans? And then he takes it away. He halves it. And he goes, now, if you only had this many jelly beans, what would you do? And then he gets down to like one jelly bean, like one day left in your life. What would you do? And for me, it had a huge, like profound kind of like impact on me, just putting things in perspective. Like, and I it's pretty funny, but I remind myself all the time, like, how are you spending your jelly beans? If you're spending your jelly beans scrolling on your phone all day, I mean, is that a life worth lived? You know what I mean? So you got to think about what you're going to do with the time on this earth that you have.
Yeah, man, no kidding. Do you say that to yourself every day? How often do you say that?
Maybe not an everyday thing, but I definitely remind myself sometimes when I feel like I'm not being productive in any way. You know, there's something to be said about relaxing and having chill time for yourself for sure. I'm a huge believer in that too. But if you're really not applying anything to your life or putting any meaning behind what you do in life, really there's no excuse for something like that. Like if you're given one day left on earth, like how are you going to spend it? I mean, that's really a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I feel like you've got a different perspective on it though, because like you said, you had some like medical issues growing up, like right after your teenage years. Like what do you think, like if you don't want to talk too much about it, that's all, it's up to you, it's your experience, but what do you think was like the hardest part of that to get over?
No, I think to keep something like that hidden is not being true to myself, you know. So I don't mind sharing that sort of information at all. Essentially, when I was 18, I was told that I had thyroid cancer, and I went through some surgeries and some treatment in that sense. And although I never had like chemotherapy and the traditional cancer treatment that someone might think about. I mean, being told at 18 that you have cancer, I myself and my family immediately thought, you know, this is it for my life. And at 18, that's a pretty heavy thing to be put on. And it was those months of uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen with me. Am I, you know, even going to live through this? Obviously I did, and it wasn't as severe going forward, but it's still something that I live with every day and something I've still tested for all the time. And it's just a part of me now. But I had to grow a lot at that stage of my life, being told that. So it really had a lasting effect on me. And I feel like really changed my perspective in a lot of ways, in terms of how I'm living life, and just kind of, I guess, the uncertainty of life and the fragileness as well.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Because that's a lot. Like I remember, dude, when my dad was diagnosed with skin cancer, I freaked out, man. And I remember calling you and like kind of freaking out. I was crying on the phone, man. I was so anxious, and that's like my dad.
Yeah.
And that's like something that we don't even think about. Like, dude, like your parents are obviously going to pass away, and hopefully it's before you. Like, but like I could only imagine your parents, man, as their kid, with that happening. And man, that's a big wake up call, and it did get you to grow up a lot faster, man. That's for sure. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, I remember vividly leaving the specialist office that day, having been told my fate at that point, you know. And I remember walking out of the room, and the nurse at the desk, she said something to my mom, which still kind of irks me to this day. But I can see where she was coming from, and she was trying to be sincere. But I remember just hearing it as she said to my mom as I walked by, like, "Oh, like, so he's so young, like that's so sad," or something like that. And I remember just like listening to that. I was like I was very upset, and we got into the car, and I broke down, and I cried for, felt like a day at that point. And really it's like hard to think about now at that point. But actually a cool story there, though, I think that you might appreciate, is the day that we went into another specialist office and we got the good news that I was cancer free at that point. My mom, I'm telling the story from my mom's perspective. She tells me this. So as I was in the office and she was coming up to meet and to listen to what the specialist had to say, she said she saw a balloon in the sky, and it was this dollar store smiley face balloon, and she just saw it as from the corner of her eye as she was walking into the building. And she still tells that story like that had a huge impact on her, because it said like everything's all right, and she got in there and we got the good news. And you know, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like gives me goosebumps thinking about that. But that's a pretty neat thing that happened as well.
That's sick, man. That's literally like a good omen right there, dude.
Deep, getting deep here. Dang. Have
That's
another sip of my
crazy.
coffee here.
Yeah, get it, dude. It's all yours. That's sweet, man. And now, like, you're all good. You're all cleared. I know that you and I have talked about this as well. You've gone for testing and you're all cleared with it now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I still have things removed from me time to time. I'm just so used to it now. So I guess I'm under the knife quite a bit, but nothing since that time has been, a bad diagnosis or anything like that. So it is. I guess the thing is when, like any specialist will tell you, when you're diagnosed with cancer, you can never be 100% cancer-free in your life, like with full certainty, because once you have it, it can come back, kind of a thing. But at this point in my life, yes, and it's a really good feeling, for
Beautiful,
sure.
man. That's so sick. So now it's just wait and game, fix your shoulder up, get back into playing music as soon as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
Get on the skateboard.
Get back to being healthy.
Yeah, dude. What else is on the agenda? Is that everything?
Yeah, I think so. Just getting back to normal. Again, switching my focus in terms of fitness to, I guess, stamina and cardio for firefighting, and then just I kind of want to get back to an athletic, to a more athletic ability, like from my younger years, where bodybuilding kind of separated me from at that point. When you're focusing just on heavy lifting and eating and getting huge, and it tends to take away from your physical abilities in other avenues. And I think getting back to that healthy state, where you're kind of an all-around fitness individual, that's where I want to get to, and I guess more of a better reflection on the way I like to be as a person in real life. So
got to get that balance, right?
Gotta get that balance, man.
Got to get balance. All right, well,
that's what it's all about. It's like when you get on a skateboard for the first time,
Yeah, you
got to work out that balance before you can do anything.
You fall down, and then you have to get back up, and then you can work on balance.
That's right.
Nice, man.
Yeah,
Well,
I've been there many times.
Yeah, no kidding, man. It sounds like it. I was going to say I won't take up too much more of your time. We'll start to end off this recording, but before we go, I just want you to share like a little bit.
Hang on, buddy. I think I lost you here.
Oh, no. Is it working now?
Hey, man, you're pretty laggy, though.
All right, is that better?
Still lagging out a bit, but
now that I'm lagging, I'm going to pretty much be done talking then. And I'm probably going to have to edit this ending a little bit, but I'm not going to curate it too much. I'll let you just finish off with like a nice little positive message since I'm lagging so much.
Wait, are we recording right now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. While you're lagging, I'll say something. Let's see here. What do we got? Yeah, no, I think, like I've mentioned, I guess that's kind of my take-home message for this chat here, is to live a well-balanced life. Actually, when I was in the heat of my bodybuilding, before I did a show, one of my favorite bodybuilders from the 80s, Bob Paris, I read, actually at the time I was reading his book Gorilla Suit, which was a really big, also a really good book as in terms of mental growth for me, in the terms of bodybuilding, and I guess be kind of starting to disassociate, I can't talk today, yourself with like the look of a bodybuilder and who you really are as a person. He says gorilla suit because he felt like he was, and I can relate to this a lot, he was a regular person with this bigger person's body. So he calls it his gorilla suit. So I like to think of that.
For people that don't know, Aidan's like 6'12" and he's like 400 pounds, man.
Not right now. But
What was the biggest you ever were? Just so people actually have like an understanding.
I was at my biggest 260.
And you're 6'5" or 6 foot?
6'5", 260 was my biggest.
Wow.
And yeah, like that. No, that book had a really big impact for me. And especially living with what's going on with me right now and having to essentially get used to the fact that I'm now a lot smaller than I was, and will kind of always be a lot smaller now. I think it's been tough still on my mindset, and you know, a little bit of mental health there too. So that book had a really big effect, and then I was able to carry that to right now a lot. But getting back to that, I ended up actually reaching out to him during my preparation for one of those shows, and kind of just because I appreciate his writing and words on just life in general, not just bodybuilding. I asked him, like, you know, what can you give me any tips as a young bodybuilder doing this and blah blah blah. And what he told me was very short and sweet, but it still had a big effect on me. He told me essentially to always strive to live an authentic life, be truthful and authentic to yourself, and like, don't change for other people, and just be yourself, be authentic. And for me, that was a really big thing at that time, and what helped me kind of transition out of bodybuilding, I guess, to be more true to myself and my kind of instincts to be more well-rounded as a person.
Nice, man. I think there's no better way to leave it than that, man. I think that's a perfect way to end it. Dude, thank you so much for recording this with me.
Oh, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being an awesome, inspiring guy, motivating everybody, making me feel good. You make me feel, dude, sometimes when you talk, it like literally gives me chills just thinking about like the things you've been through.
Oh, I appreciate it, man.
I'm stoked, dude.
Disclaimer for the people, Mark has been a huge inspiration for me since I've known him. And no, it's true, man. And what you've done, and I like what I just talked about, being true to yourself. I think you've done that to a great extent, and it inspires me. And what you're doing right now, and this channel especially, I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people do too. And I want more people to tune in and to get involved in this channel, because I feel like to create a, I guess, community for people to confide in each other and things like that is really important when it comes to mental health and just, you know, living life.
Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the ride. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much, bro. All right, I'm going to stop this recording and make sure I don't lose it this time. So I don't have like a little John 2.0 situation going on.
John situation. Can't have that, can we?
All right, bless, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, buddy.